Welcome again to the Friday Drinks and Sahwira Marketplace, and this is the online edition. It's been a fantastic 2 days so far, and we've got an entrepreneur and somebody who's actually supported the marketplace, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Nigel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, fantastic. So maybe just to kick off, we had a conversation with Tidings, and she gave us the whole corporate schlep of what you guys actually do. But maybe we can listen to you, and you can just give us the vision, profits, and what you guys are actually all about.
So Profeeds, it's a company we started 18 years ago, and we basically we started off by making feed. It was largely poultry feed, but now we make all types of feed, from fish feed to crocodile feed to goats, cattle, dairy pigs, and we supply everything that goes with it. So basically, in chickens, we supply from the hardware that you can get, and then we supply the day-old chicks or the pointer lays, and we supply the feed, we give training, and we service all over Zim. We've got 75 shops across the country, and we service about 9,000 Zimbabweans a day. I think in the last month we've served 75,000 Zimbabweans with feed and chicks. So reason why I'm here is obviously to see if the guys this side of the world are looking after projects back home. The place for them to come to would be Pro Farmer. We give technical support. We've sort of migrated as a business. We initially were just chicks and feed, but now if you go into a Pro Farmer across the country, you can get your agri-chemicals, your fertilizers, your seeds. So basically, a one-stop shop for a farmer.
Okay, fantastic. So the thing that I liked about the conversation we had with Tidings was how you as a business or you as a corporate have moved from, the big farmers to really the small scale farmers. And that really is testimony of why you actually have 75 outlets right across the country.
Yeah.
And I sort of made fun that, I've got my tete in Gutu, and if she wants to start a project that I will fund, is she able to find you guys? And I was happy to report that you're actually in Pandawana.
Yeah, so the thing is, we're targeting the sort of $350 investor who's looking to make $100 to $150 a month. That's our target market. For 100 chicks and feed, someone can produce them, and if they sell them right, they can hopefully make $1 a bird, $1.50 a bird. And it is sort of a micro business that one can start. You can start with 100 chickens, and slowly you can build it up. And the market likes fresh chicken. From the days where you're not too sure of the cold chain, you go to your supermarket, you don't know how many times there's been a power cut between that chicken being first put in a freezer and when you're buying it out the freezer. Whereas if you're buying it fresh, it's, people would rather have fresh meat. And so that's been a big advantage for the small scale model. That's why it's sort of grown, is because there is a demand for fresh meat.
Is there any particular reason why we like our chickens and not beef and everything else?
Price.
It's down to price.
Yeah,
Okay.
so chicken has really taken off in Zimbabwe in the last 15 years. There's been massive growth as an industry, and it is because the price. A chicken is, you pay for a 2 kg bird, you can buy it for $5, $6. So it's sub $3 a kilo. If you look at beef, it's a lot more than that. And so beef sales seem to be sliding, and poultry is definitely growing. But there's also a lot of growth in areas like pigs. The pork consumption is increasing in Zim. There's also goats. We've got a trial right now. We've got our first 120 boar goats coming in from Namibia, and then they're actually in quarantine at the moment in Namibia. And so that's something we're going to try. We don't know how well it will work, but goat consumption I think a lot of the diasporans, they would like to have a goat farm in their musha. So it's to get the good bloodlines in, to get the good blood stocks in, and hopefully develop the industry.
Okay. So let's now talk directly to the diasporans. If somebody's in the UK, enjoys what you say, likes what Profeeds is doing, what do they need to do? And they know absolutely nothing about farming, but they've got friends and family back home or in Kumusha or anywhere who want to start a project and they think this is a good idea. How do they get involved?
So the first thing they do is they could go to one of our stores and meet the manager at the store, and then they need to get some training. So we offer training. I think last year we trained about 6,500 people. So we offer free training. They book themselves into a training course when it's coming to their area, and we'll show them the steps to setting up a small poultry farm or whatever they're wanting to do, whether it's for layers, and then they get in the cycle. What we're hoping to bring to the party is going to be finance. With Inbucks, we're working with them. But initially, just to start off with, you can set up a project for $500, $2,000. You can set up a project, but I think the important thing is if you are going to put that money down, you want to make sure that whoever is on the ground doing it has the best animal husbandry and practices, and that we can train them.
Okay.
We can teach them.
So let me get this right. Are you saying that with 500 US dollars, if I send 500 US dollars, somebody can actually start a project, a chicken project,
Yeah.
with
So-
500 US dollars?
So you probably, if you're going to have to start by building the house and getting the equipment, you're probably looking at $3 to $5 a bird. So if you're saying you wanted to set up a project you're going to need to spend that just to set up your house. When your house is set up, a project for 100 chickens is $350 approximately. So yeah, you definitely can set up a project for $500.
Wow. And what sort of profits am I getting, or after 6 weeks or
So
5 weeks?
You'd hope to make. You're going to do a cycle every 6 weeks because you want to let your house rest.
Okay.
You'd hope to make at least $1 a bird. So on 100 chicks, you'd make $100. So that's $300. You should be able to make $100 a month from that.
Yeah. I think this is a more sustainable business, right? So if somebody is in the diaspora, instead of continuously sending money back home, you can get them started on a project. And if it's 500, even to 1,000 US dollars, and they're making $1 a bird every 5 weeks or 6 weeks, that seems feasible. What do you think?
No, I think it's a fantastic opportunity because, it's that old saying about, giving a man a fish or teaching them to fish. What you want is ultimately, if you can make it happen for your family or relatives in Zim to be able to sustain themselves.
Sustainability.
Because, God forbid something happens to you or you're not capable for whatever reason of supporting them, they've got a safety net, a fallback position. And the sort of numbers that we're talking about are accessible to, most people, because when you think about a project, typically you're thinking thousands of dollars, right?
No, it doesn't have to be that. And if you look at, the one thing is a broiler is a meat chicken that takes 4 or 5 weeks to get ready for slaughter. The other option is you can go into layers, and you can buy pointed layers. So we've got a pointed layer program. We produce about 30,000 pointed layers a month, which we produce them up till they're about 18 weeks old. So when the farmer buys them, they're ready to lay an egg. And that's also, we sell a pointed layer for $12. So say if you bought, 200 pointed layers, it's times that by $12, and then you're feeding it. But the eggs, will pay for the feed every day. So it doesn't have to be for $500, $1,000, you can set up a good project.
Wow. And you're saying that the market is there.
The market's definitely there. At the moment, there's the market for chicken's good. It's cyclical. At times, when there's a bit of an oversupply, there can be issues. But in the last year, we haven't seen that. And like now is obviously a busy time. Everyone wants to place their chickens beginning of November because then they're going to hit the Christmas rush. But there's definite demand for meat. With the tobacco and the gold in Zim at the moment, there's definitely a little bit of more liquidity in the country. And, people eat meat. And chicken's the most affordable meat.
Okay. So that's, $500 to $1,000 for chickens. Maybe can you speak to the goats and to pigs? And
Pigs, the big issue with pigs is the genetics in the country. There's a couple of big commercial farms, and they've got their own genetics. We sell about 500 tons of pig feed a month, and we're trying to find out our farmers, what do they need? And we're looking to bring in boars so we can tap semen and try and improve the genetics in the pigs. But right now, there's also a big demand for pigs. Our goal is to try and produce something to 30 kgs and then sell it as a pig for a small-scale farmer to just fatten off for the last couple of months, and then he'll sell it on the hoof.
Okay, fantastic. And approximately how much, for a starter pack?
For
pigs,
For
yeah.
pigs.
You're in for probably a gilt is going for $300. Is what you're going to look to start off with a pig. So that's $5,000, $10,000. You'll get yourself started on a pig setup.
Great. And then goats.
Goats. I think we've got our first lot arriving. I think they are going to trade at about $300 a goat, $250 to $300 for a boar goat. We're waiting for the first lots to come in, and we'll put it on our website and we'll share it with you as soon as we do get them. Okay. It's green fields for us. We've never done it before. The one worry is, I was speaking to a vet the other day, they say that goats moving from Namibia to Zim, obviously they're moving from a desert climate to Zimbabwe, and for some reason, animals moving west don't work as well as animals moving east. So we've obviously just got to be aware of these things dying on us. And so we've got our first trial, and the vet said to me we should give them a terramycin every 2 weeks just to make sure that they are surviving the new bugs that they're going to get in Zim.
Exposed to, yeah.
Okay. What does it take to actually be a good farmer?
Feet on the ground, I think. Zimbabweans are good chicken farmers. So there's farming and farming. I think timing. If you talk about crops, it's timing, it's ability to be in at the right time when you plant, etc. For cattle farming or animal farming, I think it's just good animal husbandry, following the practices of cleanliness, hygiene, clean water, enough food, right vaccines, right medication. And but Zimbabweans are good farmers. The success stories we have out of our clientele, there's a lot of guys who started and have been able to grow their businesses, and people making a living out of it. A lot of people doing it full time, some people doing it part time. But I think to be a good farmer, you just follow the right principles, and you'll be fine.
Okay, fantastic. All right, join us in the next segment when we will, get in deeper with farming business, and get to know Nigel a little bit more. But I think so far I've learned quite a bit. And I think for the diasporans, this is a good opportunity to get a project that is actually sustainable. And it doesn't matter where you are. As we've heard, Profeeds is in 75 units, has 75 stores right across Zimbabwe. So I'm pretty sure they're there. And if they're in Pandawana, they're probably everywhere. So join us in the next segment. Cheers.
Cheers.
Profeeds is a national pillar committed to empowering farmers through innovation and sustainable solutions. Our extensive retail network includes over 75 pro-farmer stores across Zimbabwe. We provide complete agri-solutions. Our core products include high-performance animal feeds for poultry, beef, pig, and goat projects. We also supply crop inputs from seeds and fertilizers to necessary agrochemicals. Our commitment extends beyond the product. We invest in success by offering free farmer training and advisory services. Our technical specialists provide in-depth training seminars and on-farm technical visits, ensuring our customers apply best practices for maximum yield and profitability. For our diasporan investors and families, you can now seamlessly support your farming projects or purchase inputs for your family back home. Invest in a growing Zimbabwe. Partner with the trusted professionals.
Welcome back to the second segment, and we're still with Nigel. And Nigel was actually the entrepreneur who started Profeeds, and he's got a very interesting story, backstory that he told us when we toured the factory back in Willowvale in Harare. What I found fascinating with your story was how you started by being a trader. And from that, you then grew into Profits. Would you like to share that story with our audience? Because I think they'll find it as fascinating as I did.
Yeah, so I was born in Zim. I grew up on a farm, and I actually came across here to the UK to study. And I studied agriculture marketing. And during that time, we learned about value chains. And I got back to Zim in '94, and Zimbabwe was just liberalizing the commodity markets then. So I started as a broker, and I basically worked on behalf of farmers selling their crops to the milling and processing industry. And so I did that from in the '90s, and then 2002, things changed a little bit. There was a legal change in terms of a statutory instrument which made it illegal to trade maize and wheat as a private player, which is what our business was doing at the time. So that's when I started looking at. I went up to Zambia, and I met an agro processor there, and he advised me. He said you should get into agro processing. So I started with in 2004 with a factory that made porridge for NGOs, for NGO feeding programs. So I started doing that, and it just evolved. I deal in maize and soyas, and Profeeds is made, stock feeds made out of maize and soyas. So I did a startup, 2007. I invested $100,000 into some machinery, and that's what started Profeeds. Today, it's a big business now, and it came from the love of trading. That's basically where.
So, how was that transition from trading to actually becoming an operator?
To becoming a processor, it was a difficult process. You learn hard lessons. Zimbabwe's given us opportunity for hard lessons.
Yes, well,
over the last
put it
2
mildly.
years, sometimes the rules change. It's not been plain sailing. But with that, I've been involved in several startups from in the dairy industry, bottling. Life is one of our products in Pro Dairy. Pro Bottlers, we make a juice and we make fizzy drinks. All of these are agro-processing products, and I don't think we would have had the opportunity to break into the market had it been plain sailing in Zim. It was because there was a sort of void. The first decade of this millennium was quite tough on all processing, and so sort of 15 years ago, there was a bit of a void. Shops were empty. Everything was coming in from South Africa. There was very little being manufactured locally. So we set up a few startups in agro-processing, and today they are fortunately household names in our country. I was lucky. I got some good investors in who helped me scale the business, and we've got a good team of people, and yeah, we've got an exciting business at the moment.
Wow. So when you look at 1994, 2002, 2007, those were maybe at the peak of the turbulence in Zim.
Yeah.
And
Learning
you're right,
years.
yes, and you're right in the storm, and you're starting businesses. Is it something that is akin to just your personality?
You know why? One of the reasons why I started businesses, my clients at that time, if I was supplying them commodity, they were so bad at paying, and then you would get paid and it would be worth nothing. So I was like, I can't be dealing with a company that is going to break me. I'd rather make something and deal with the end consumer, and your timing is, you can
quicker.
Yeah,
You're getting
it's
Cash on delivery, yeah.
So
Okay.
I think Profeeds for me has been an interesting one because I'm working with thousands of entrepreneurs. Zimbabweans are resilient, and they make a plan wherever they are in the world, whether they're in this part of the world, whether they're in our part of the world. People make a plan, and there was not the formal jobs available. So that was the nice thing about Profeeds, is we found a customer that
Was able to pay cash.
and he was an entrepreneur himself. So we've just got to target something for that customer to make him viable, and make him, make something that makes it worthwhile for him to get out every day and make a plan to put some crust on the table.
What's in your personality that you think is acutely relevant to entrepreneurship in general, and then to Zimbabwean circumstance or Zimbabwean environment in particular?
So I've got quite bad ADHD, so my brain goes like that. I think that probably helps in Zim. And I think for me is to not give up. We've had a lot of times where we could have easily given up. But it's when there's an issue comes, just put your shoulder in and push back as hard as you can.
Eventually you close your eyes and you cross your
Just
fingers.
go for it. Yeah, cross everything.
What do you think? Just from an entrepreneurial journey, where would you place them, and how do you contextualize that, especially in Zimbabwe? Because we starting to hear a lot of these entrepreneurial stories that really arose at a period when Zim was going through its worst.
Yeah, so I think my perspective is I think that crisis, it produces two extremes, right? It breaks some people and then brings out the best in other people because you have to cope somehow with the crisis, and so one man's tragedy is another man's great opportunity. And it's just, if you think about what's been happening in Zimbabwe over the last 10 years in terms of the informal sector taking significant market share from the formal sector. This is
Sure,
a lot of corporate Zimbabwe has been crying about that because they're built in the formal sector, but businesses like Profeeds.
I've got a business, Pro Brands, that was just about solely reliant on the formal retail chains. And we know what's happened to them in the last couple of years. And so that business, we have to find a new route to market. So the big thing, the big transition that's happened in our business in the last 3 years is the market you were supplying is not there, but there is another market. Is how do you break into that other market? and that was quite a complex thing in Zim. And then Zimbabwe is fast-paced and evolving. There's nothing. It's sometimes like quicksand. Things can change quickly, and you've got to be able to adapt and navigate to the next point. But the market there was in the last 3 years, it just turned off, and a whole new one turned on. So if you didn't transition,
You're in trouble.
you're in trouble. And if you did, you're okay. We've got certain products like our dairy business. We used to sell so much to the former retail. Now it's a lot of wholesalers and it's becoming more informal. You want your product to be at the tuck shop at the right price when it's sold. And an interesting thing about Zim is we've got a currency where there's a dollar, and there's not 90 cents. It's not $1.10. It's a dollar. So a lot of our products, a nyati, you go to and buy a nyati in a bottle store, it's $1. You go and buy a Revive anywhere in Zimbabwe, it's $1. So it's to be able to make sure that you can get that price so that the vendor can make a margin and you can make you can cover your costs. But the most important thing is that the vendor has ability to have skin in the game. And you have to transition. Like we've got a product called Fizzy. It's a carbonated soft drink, and the market leader is a Delta product, Coke. It's fantastic. That's the top. Then there was Pepsi, and they were 2 for $1. And now we were saying, well, we've got to try and be 3 for $1. But then the vendor wouldn't sell 3 for $1. He'd sell your 2. So you're up against Pepsi. So what we've just done is we've changed our bottle size from a 500 ml to a 750 ml. And so 2 Fizzy 750 mls are the same price as 2 Pepsi 500 mls.
So I'm incredulous when you tell me the story because, one of the things that happened over the last 20 years that captured my imagination is Richard Branson's epic failure with Virgin Cola trying to take on the giants in that space. And so in a Zimbabwean context, you have the 600-pound gorilla in Delta, and then you have Pepsi come along, and they're moving huge volumes, and then there you are thinking, you know what? I want in.
So a lot of the, when we started, that business was started with the product Bally House, which sort of went up against Missouri Orange. All the listeners here will
remember
know
that.
Missouri Orange.
Yeah.
And Missouri Orange had 90% of the market. So a lot of the businesses we've gone in where there is a monopoly, where there is an opportunity that if you're nimble and you can watch your cost structures, you can compete. We've taken on Chibuku with Nyati. We've taken on Dairy Board with Pro Dairy products. Bally House was taking on that. So we actually specifically targeted big corporate one-man plays where there might be an angle if you are efficient and nimble to compete. Obviously you've got to sell. Whatever you produce, you've got to sell it. And when you make it, you've got to make it efficiently. Yeah. And you've got to try and our product offering, our catchphrase at Pro Brands from when we started was affordable quality. And that's what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to give a product that's of a quality at a fair price.
Okay. So let's actually talk strategy because it sounds like, what you build is better mousetraps. And isn't that tough business? Because you have to be more efficient, you have to be better than your competitors, and you have to be very nimble.
Yeah,
and you cannot afford to get it wrong.
So we have made a few mistakes in time. I've bombed out in a few businesses. I've got very strong partners in Score. They run their businesses incredibly well, and they they focus on numbers and they analyze into those numbers, and they help us to become efficient. It's like you're going off piece there. You've got to tighten up. It's your fixed cost. You've got your cost to run your factory. It's fixed, and then you've got your variable cost, which is all the bits that are inside there. And you've got to make sure that your fixed cost is stable, and your variable cost, you've got to bring it down and just put its volume. All these businesses only work with throughput.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's very, very competitive, and that you've actually succeeded, I think, speaks a lot to just who you are and who Inska is. Now, you spoke, just sorry to just take you back a bit, but you talked about bombing out. Would you like to maybe expand on that and what that does to an entrepreneur and what that looks like for entrepreneurs?
It can. I've bombed out on a couple of occasions, and sometimes big numbers. The risk is that you can't stand up financially after one. But obviously, with Zim, in the last 10 years, 20 years, there's been difficult times. So you can have an issue and boom,
You're carried out.
Yeah, it can knock you out. I've had a lot of failures probably 10, 15 years ago. I had quite a few businesses that didn't work, and that transition from sort of 2007 to 2016. It was difficult to transition with them, but fortunately we have transitioned, and like in beverages. In 2013, I spent $50,000 buying some dairy equipment. If you go to Pro Dairy today, you won't believe you're in Zimbabwe. It's tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment, and we think we'd like to believe we're a world-class processing plant there. We've got some great products. Revive. Have you tried Revive?
Yeah.
Have you tried our new Maheu? We've got a good Maheu. That's our fastest growing segment at the moment.
I haven't tried it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure you try it when you get home.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so how do you rise again? How do you keep on going? You thought that, what, you've had enough and it's probably time to, go on and ride your horses, but you keep coming back and...
So I did actually leave work full-time 7 years ago, and I've only just come back 6 months ago. I needed a break. I'd been pushing quite hard and was probably a bit burnt out, too much debt, too much stress, too much. So I took a time out, and I became a fair horseman. But I'm supercharged going back in. If I look at all our businesses now, we're busy. Our beer business is growing. All the dairy businesses and pro bottlers. It's probably 25 million liters a month of product. It's flying. So that's how it's going well. And for me, I'm focused on trying to help Pro Farmer transition Zimbabwe's farmers. I think there's so much we can do as a country, and there's a lot of exciting things happening in agriculture, like AI.
Talk more about that.
So we're investing heavily in AI now, and one is it's difficult for us to know who all our customers are.
75,000 is a big number.
We've signed up 350,000 business partners.
Wow.
Not all of them are in it all the time, but it's to work out who those guys are. And I believe if you could help them, obviously with inputs, but if you could help them, link them to market. If you said to the small scale farm or any guy, what's your biggest difficulties? The one thing is access to market, and the other is access to scale. Now, with technology, I believe we're going to be able to facilitate that access to market. Like if you want to get a ride, you use an app called Uber.
Yep.
in Zim, it's InDrive. Pro Farmer, we will have an app which will be the Uber of poultry. You know, if you want to buy chickens or if you want to sell chickens, you'll be able to do it through our platform. And so if someone wants to buy 500 chickens, they can just go, poof, where's the closest 500 chickens to me? And there's, you know, Joseph just down the road has got 500 chickens coming off next week. We can link them to the market. So I think the technology is going to enable us to scale our customer base, our business partners, because I think my goal is, obviously I want to have a successful business in our businesses, but I also want my customers to have successful businesses themselves. And with AI now, you know, we've just started doing soil sampling, which we have a fertilizer business called NutriMaster. So for the first time, a guy can take his soil samples, he can take it to his shop in Gokwe, and within a week or two, he's got full analysis. So he knows what's in his soil. And I think the opportunity is to take the farmer, whether he's a crop farmer or a livestock farmer, and it's to try and help him become more efficient and try and help him scale. Because everyone who's got 500 chickens might want to think, sure, if I had 500 chickens, what happens if I got to 5,000 chickens and I'm making $1 a bird? You know, suddenly
That's a step change in income.
step change. You know, something I said, and it's a long time ago, I said it now, 2015, but I said, Pro Farmer, we will make 1,000 people $1,000 a month. We will, watch us. And I haven't analyzed what all our farmers are making, but my goal is to make people try and get that $1,000 a month. If someone can earn $1,000 a month, then they way over the basic line.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially in Zimbabwe.
And so that is the thing, is to try and set up a business model for a guy that he can make his grand a month. And if you can do that, and you can do that by thousands, well, then I would have done my job.
Wow.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
that's a great vision.
So it's great that you're supporting a lot of these entrepreneurs, and I suppose it stems from the fact that you are an entrepreneur, so you know their needs and you know how to allow them to grow. Yeah,
Hard it is and how
Now,
good
hard
it
it
is.
is. Yeah. True. When you look at your kids, are they entrepreneurial?
So I've got 4 daughters. My eldest daughter's actually just got a job in London. She's working for a mineral trading firm. She's currently moving copper from Ndola to Durban, based out of London. So she is my next daughter, Lily. She wants to be a journalist. So she's not going to be entrepreneurial, I don't think. My third daughter, Sophia, she's a hustler. We'll see what happens there.
Okay.
I've got a youngster of 4, Rebecca. I'm not sure. She
You can't
she
tell
hustles
just yet.
me. That's what
Okay. And how different was that from you growing up? Because I think that your dad was a farmer, right?
my dad was a farmer.
And how come you didn't become a farmer?
My dad said I wouldn't be a good farmer. It did help that I had 3 older brothers and there were 3 farms. So it was just as well that I didn't. But, you know, through family, my cousin came to see me and said, look, will you take on Callum, who's my cousin? And he's an incredible entrepreneur. He's built our dairy business and our beverage business. Him and Christo both have built it, along with good backing from InScore. But Callum is a real entrepreneur, and he was an entrepreneur. My dad remembers him at 12 years old with 20 goats, 30 goats. So he was hustling then. And he's, have you both met Callum?
We know of him.
Yeah.
Never met him, yeah.
He'll be a good guy for you to talk to. He's a very good entrepreneur, and he's managed to scale businesses. Like I remember saying, sure, I wonder if we could just do 1 million liters a month. And now this month, I think he's going to be 25 million liters.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were just around entrepreneurs. So your dad picked it up that you're more entrepreneurial than
Yeah, and I think I had a bit of a foundation from what I studied in terms of agricultural marketing was linked to I grew up on a farm. I've known agriculture all my life. I think that entrepreneurism is just trying to make a trade, trying to do a deal, trying to get the balls rolling. Yeah.
Okay. No, fantastic. What do you think? We keep hearing the same story about, the entrepreneurial ecosystem and, friends and family who are also entrepreneur and then picking it up from there.
I think my advice to any entrepreneur is don't give up and don't wait too long to start. It doesn't have to be perfect to start. Just do it. If you've got an idea, just do it slowly and try not make any mistakes, but start. Some people procrastinate too much.
For sure.
So you don't want to, obviously you don't want to waste money, and there are school fees. I'm afraid everyone in life will learn school fees. If you're an entrepreneur,
You're going to get some things wrong.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of things wrong. But you hopefully learn from what you get wrong. It's the only way you're going to find out is make a mistake, make it twice, try not make it thrice.
So I wanted to get a sense from you in terms of, because one of the constraints doing business in Zimbabwe is obviously finance. It's just really hard to raise money or access loans from the banks and that sort of thing. And so, with the network of small scale farmers that you guys work with, how game changing would it be if they had access to cheap finance?
That is something Tidings and I are working hard on. I think if we could bring finance and safe finance for whoever's financing it. Someone doesn't want to lend money and not get it back. That's the first risk. And the informal sector is, one would think it's fraught with risk. But you just did a podcast about a bank in South Africa, banking the unbanked.
Yeah.
And what's the most valuable bank in South Africa today?
Happy Take.
I think the opportunity for Zim is when finance does come in. And that's why we have to find methodologies, whether it be AI, to help us analyze who can we fund. We're saying if someone wants to do 200 chickens and he's been doing 200 chickens with us for a year, you know what? Carry on doing your 200. We'll fund the 100 to take you to 300. It can be little step change growth. It means we're putting $150, but he's putting $350. We put $150. Suddenly his project's $500. Cannot afford an extra $6 a bag.
As a banker, like in my mind, there's an obvious opportunity there, because if somebody is, even if they're doing 100 chickens, right? If they're paying cash for the day old chicks and for all the feed. So surely, if they do this for 3 to 6 months in a row, surely they're good for at least one cycle's worth of capital.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the difficulties is how do we implement it? But it's definitely what our drivers is for us to grow our business, which we want to do. One thing is go and find new customers, but more importantly is take our existing customers and help those guys, because they're already in the game. The guys that we've got, guys who've been with us. We had you did a thing on marketing the other day, and we had our promo. The lady who won this one of the prizes, she's been with us 10 years. That's the person you want to win the prize. She's been a regular client for 10 years. That person, I want to know, how can I help her change the game? Because it's not just about making $100. It's about paying for some school fees. It's about sorting out a TV for their family. It's that $100 goes into something that family wants.
Yeah, goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, looking into the future, the next decade or two, where do you see yourself? Where do you see your business, and where do you see Zimbabwe?
So, firstly, I pray Zimbabwe is going to be positive. It's busy now. May it stay stable. I do worry, if there wasn't a dollar there, that makes me panic a bit, because is it going to be stable? We don't want to go backwards. We want to go forwards.
For sure.
But we've just been voted top destination in the world to visit with Forbes.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe is a great place. I pray that it grows and our people grow. And in terms of our business, we want to be there. We want to be competitive. We want to fight. We want to make sales. We want everyone's pantry to be full of our products. We want to, in Profeeds, we want to change lives. We want to, I want to coach. We want to be able to coach entrepreneurs how to upscale their business. And firstly, we've got to learn how they're doing it, and then work out, what tools can we put in place, like finance. The guy's got no finance. He's everything's cash. Imagine he could leverage himself 50%.
Yeah.
It'll just transform their business. I hope we're there in 10 years' time, and I hope we're pushing hard in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
We're more focused about how do we fix. It's like playing a game of chess. You are thinking ahead, but it's one move at a time. One move at a time.
And maybe the last word is, somebody's in school at the moment, because we do have a strong contingent of kids that are in school and they're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur. What would be your advice to them?
So do some research. Do some research about what you want to do. If it's an entrepreneur, it can be making something, it can be selling something, it can be growing something. So do some research about what it is you want to do, and start small, and just
Build on it.
don't stop. Don't procrastinate too much. Just do your first deal. And Zimbabweans are like that. You look how many guys are making a living buying something and selling it. That's entrepreneurialism. They're hustling. So
Yep.
it's to find where there's a good niche where they can make a bit of dosh.
How do you know that you are probably aligned into entrepreneurship or you're not? Let's say you're trying to figure out, you're 18 and you're trying to figure out, am I really an entrepreneur or am I not? Am I better off in
chemist
corporate?
or
Yeah, I'm better off in corporate. What's a heuristic that one can just use?
Sure, that's a tough question. I think I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to answer that. I think if you're an entrepreneur, you'll know it because you'll be looking for an angle. I think you'll just be looking for an angle of how can you hustle something.
That's a good one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a hard question. I think, and you might actually not be entrepreneurial at 18 and spend like 10, 15 years in corporate and then become an entrepreneur. I don't think it's cast in stone, where you are, like as a youngster, that you're not an entrepreneur or that you're entrepreneurial. You can discover your entrepreneurial energy and flair late in life.
Yeah. Well, the audience, you've heard it first, yeah, at the Sahwira marketplace. Let us know what you guys think. How do you know you're an entrepreneur? How do you know you're made for corporate? But nonetheless, thank you very much, Nigel. This was, as always, great. And we've learned a lot, and we've learned a lot about Profeeds and ProFarmer. And to the diasporans, please come on to the Sahwira marketplace, and you'll be able to then interact with ProFarmer directly, and they'll help you wherever you are, and directly to your family members anywhere in Zimbabwe. They've got outlets, they've got the distribution, and it's end to end. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers.